Good evening, children.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am.
Good evening, children. Am I audible? Is my screen visible, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we are going to get started with a new chapter, quadrilaterals today. So you are all aware that this is a part of term 2 syllabus. Fine, let's define the term quadrilateral. Now, to define or to draw a quadrilateral in a plane, we need 4 points. We need 4 points. We need 4 points. To define or to draw a quadrilateral on a plane surface, we need 4 points. What if the 4 points are collinear? No quadrilateral is formed. I have 4 points. I have 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 points. But when I connect them, I only get a line segment. I don't get a quadrilateral. That means the 4 points must not be collinear. It's not enough if we have 4 points in a plane. The points must not be collinear. If all the 4 points are collinear, then you'll only get a line segment by connecting them. You don't find a quadrilateral. You cannot define a quadrilateral. So now we'll see if we have 3 points collinear and 1 away from it. So of the 4 points, 3 points are collinear. In the first case, all the 4 points were collinear. See, 4 points are sufficient to define a quadrilateral on a plane surface. 4 points are sufficient. We need 4 points, exactly 4 points. But when the 4 points are collinear, no quadrilateral is formed. When you join the 4 points, you only get a line segment. Now we'll take this case where of the 4 points, 3 points are collinear. Of the 4 points, 3 points are collinear. See here, 1 is away from it. 1 is away from all these 3 points. See here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now in this case, all the 4 points were collinear. Now here, these 3 points are collinear. The 4th point is away from these 3 points. All the 4 points are not collinear. Now let us see if a quadrilateral can be formed. Of the 4 points, 3 points are collinear. All the 4 points are not collinear. Of the 4 points, 3 points are collinear. You can see the 4th point here. Now let's try to join these points and see if we can define a quadrilateral. No. A triangle is formed, but for a triangle, you don't need 4 points. So when you join these points, a triangle is formed. As I was telling you that to define a triangle, we don't need 4 points. 3 points are sufficient. But of the 4 points we have in the plane, when we of the 4 points we have, and where 3 points are collinear, where 3 of 4 points are collinear, where 3 out of 4 points are collinear, when you join them, you can see that a triangle is formed, not a quadrilateral. So now here all the 4 points were collinear, a line segment. We got a line segment. When 3 out of 4 points are collinear, when 4 out of 4 points are collinear. 4 out of 4, all the 4 points are collinear. So here 3 out of 4 are collinear. 3 points out of 4 points are collinear. Again, we did not get a quadrilateral. Am I audible, children? Is my voice clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So here 3 out of 4 points are collinear. We tried to connect the points. We did not get a quadrilateral. Instead, we have a triangle here. So now let's see when 2 out of 4 points are collinear. Now I shouldn't use the word collinearity for 2 points because the word collinearity is used for 3 or more than 3 points. Because when you take 2 points, you can always connect them by a straight line. 2 points, see the term collinearity or the term collinear is applicable only to 3 or more than 3 points. We don't use the term collinear to 2 points because 2 points can always be connected by the same straight line. So 2 points can always be connected by a line. So there is nothing like 2 points are collinear to these 2 points are not collinear. No. So the term collinearity is applied to a situation where we have 3 points or more than 3 points. When we have 2 points can always be connected by the same straight line. So now here 4 out of 4 points collinear, here 3 out of 4 points collinear. Now 2 out of 4. I cannot say collinear. So now only these 2 points can be connected by the same straight line. So we'll keep the third one somewhere here and anywhere. See if I place the fourth one here, then these 3 will become collinear. Our idea here is we'll not have 3 points collinear because we already took up that situation here. 3 out of 4 points collinear, we already took it up here. So now we'll place the points in such a way that no 3 points are collinear. So see 1, 2, I'll place a third one here. Are these 3 points collinear, children? I've placed 3 points. Are these 3 points collinear?
No, ma'am.
No. Now the fourth one, see, I should not place the fourth one here. Then these 3 will become collinear. So somewhere here. Anywhere, see, there is no space, so I just put it here. Now let's try to join this in order. So what is this case we have? This is a case where we have 4 points, of which no 3 points are collinear. When you take 3 points at the same time, they are not collinear. This case, here we have 4 points, but 3 out of 4 are collinear. When 3 out of 4 are collinear, no quadrilateral is formed. So this is a case where we have 4 points, of which no 3 points are collinear. When you consider 3 points at a time, they're not collinear. See, take up any 3 points, you will see that they're not collinear. They cannot be connected by the same straight line. But 2 points can always be connected by a line, that we know. So here we have placed the dots, so we have placed the points in such a way that no 3 points, when we take up 3 points at a time, they are not collinear. And now we'll try to join them in order. See, you cannot join them in any order. You should take up some order, either clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. Supposing I go like this, I connect like this, I connect like this, I connect like this. Now let's not say parallelogram. A quadrilateral is formed here. So see here 1, 2, 3, and supposing the 4th point here. So when you join them in order, you can see quadrilateral being formed. So that's exactly the definition of a quadrilateral. A figure formed by joining 4 points in a plane. See that in bracket, that's a very important condition, of which no 3 points are collinear. A figure formed by joining 4 points in a plane, of which no 3 points are collinear. So 4 points in a plane in an order, either the clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. See, because when you have 4 points like this, you should not say, see, I connected these 2 points, I connected these 2. Where is the quadrilateral? No, you should not lift your hand. You should go continuously. You must connect the points in the anti-clockwise or clockwise direction without lifting your hand. You cannot do this. You cannot say, see, these 2 dots I connected these 2 dots. Where is the quadrilateral? It's not like that. You cannot lift your hand. Okay, so a figure formed by joining 4 points in a plane, of which no 3 points are collinear in an order. Joining the points in an order is called a quadrilateral. Or you can also, see, this definition I have given so that we understand that of the 4 points, no 3 points must be collinear. But we've already seen we already know the definition of a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral is a polygon bounded by 4 line segments. We know that. 8th standard. A quadrilateral is a polygon bounded by 4 line segments. It's a polygon, so it's a closed figure. A quadrilateral is a polygon. A polygon meaning it's a closed figure. A quadrilateral is a polygon, meaning it's a closed figure. Polygon of how many sides? A quadrilateral is a polygon of comprising of 4 sides or comprising of 4 line segments. Correct? So that is also fine. That's a quadrilateral. A 4-sided polygon. A 4-sided polygon. A polygon with 4 line segments is a quadrilateral. Is the definition clear, children?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Where are the others in the class? Do we all understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Yeah, please take the effort, unmute and please tell me. I can still see some of you not acknowledging. Have you all understood? The others?
Yes, ma'am, understood.
All right, so below you can see some quadrilaterals. They are not any special quadrilaterals. Like when we say special quadrilaterals, they are not parallelograms or rectangles or squares, rhombus, kite, trapezium. So you can see 3 quadrilaterals here. They are simply quadrilaterals. Now the first figure you can see the diagonals are also connected. Maybe, I don't know if it looks like a kite for you, but it's somewhat like a kite, but it's not a kite. It's not a kite. It is not a kite. We'll see why it's not a kite later. So this quadrilateral, the first figure, it's a quadrilateral. It has no special property. So it's not any special quadrilateral. It's not a trapezium or a kite. See, what do you call it? It's a quadrilateral. It has no further special name. It's not a kite. It's not a trapezium. It's not a parallelogram, rhombus, square, or rectangle. So these are some special quadrilaterals. They are special quadrilaterals because they have some special unique properties. So the first figure which you see is a quadrilateral. It's no special quadrilateral. It is a quadrilateral. Then it has no specific property. It's just a figure made up of 4 line segments, and a quadrilateral, the diagonals intersect, and you can see the diagonals intersecting there. The second figure is also a quadrilateral. You cannot call it a trapezium or a parallelogram or a rhombus. The third one is also quadrilateral. It has, you can see a right angle, but this one is an obtuse angle. Looks like, I'm just going by the figure. This one is an obtuse angle. This also is an obtuse angle. So this probably is an acute angle. This third figure is also a quadrilateral. It's not any special quadrilateral. Okay, so that's about the contents on this slide. Yeah, this you can understand. Please take a screenshot. Make sure you write all this in your notebook, children. Take a picture. Take a picture. This is the first slide. Take a picture.
Sure, ma'am.
And please write out the contents in your tuition notebook. This one is simple to understand. After having understood congruent triangles, this should not be difficult, but this is not based on the concept of congruent triangles. I'm just telling you, we have done triangles. So you should be able to understand the proof for the angle sum property of a quadrilateral. Please take a screenshot. Yeah. You should be able to understand this yourself. This is the proof for the statement that the sum of all the four angles of a quadrilateral is 360 degrees. Yeah, now let's have a look at some special quadrilaterals. Special because they have some unique properties. So first comes trapezium. So what we're going to see now is, we will see all the properties, but what we see first is the definition of a trapezium. What makes a quadrilateral a trapezium? When can you call a trapezium? When can you call a quadrilateral a trapezium? So like when you have to prove that, two triangles are congruent, you don't have to check for all the three. You don't have to prove that all the three pairs of corresponding angles are equal and all the three pairs of corresponding sides are equal. So we have the congruence, criteria that makes our job easier. You can just check for any three equalities. In the same way, the definitions help us to identify quadrilaterals as some special quadrilaterals just by using the definition. You don't have to check for all the trapezium has so many properties. You don't have to check for all the properties in the figure and then say, yeah, so see, it has all these properties, so then it must be a trapezium. No, if it satisfies the definition, it is a trapezium. If a quadrilateral satisfies the definition of a trapezium, then it's a trapezium. Once it's a trapezium, it will have all the properties of the trapezium. So if a trapezium, say, has 10 properties, you don't have to verify all the 10 properties in that quadrilateral and then conclude that, oh yes, this is a trapezium. No. Simply use the definition. If the quadrilateral satisfies the condition in the definition, then it is a trapezium. Like in lower classes, how do we identify prime numbers? So our teachers told us that a number which has two factors, exactly two factors. Take up a number, and if it has exactly two factors, then it's a prime number. So when you were asked, is 15 a prime number? Is 1, 5, 15 a prime number? So you worked out the factors. You find that 1 is a factor, 3 is a factor, 5 is a factor, 15 is a factor. So 15 has more than two factors. So using the definition, you conclude that 15 is not a prime number, but it is a composite number because it has more than two factors. So the deciding factor is the definition, the condition in the definition. The deciding factor is the condition in the definition.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So now let's look at the definition of a trapezium. A quadrilateral having one pair of opposite sides parallel is called a trapezium. A quadrilateral having one pair of opposite sides parallel. So in a quadrilateral, if it is known that a quadrilateral is simply a four-sided polygon. So in a quadrilateral, if you know that, or if it is known that one pair of opposite sides are parallel, then it's a trapezium. Then it's a trapezium, that's all. Now that it's a trapezium, it will have all the other properties also of a trapezium. So this is the definition of a trapezium. These are called definitions. This is the definition of a trapezium. A quadrilateral having one pair of opposite sides parallel is called a trapezium. Or you can say a trapezium is a quadrilateral. A trapezium is a quadrilateral in which one pair of opposite sides is parallel. So in the trapezium KLMN, it's marked that KL is parallel to NM. Oh, I should have, sorry, I made a mistake while typing. In quadrilateral, I must say in quadrilateral KLMN. I shouldn't say in trapezium. In trapezium KLMN, we have. Okay, this is not incorrect, but then I think I should have done it as in quadrilateral KL. Okay, listen to this. In quadrilateral KLMN, KL is parallel to NM. Therefore, KLMN is a trapezium. That's what I wanted to say, but I don't find it in my slide. Okay, so see, so in this quadrilateral KLMN, please see if you agree with me. In this quadrilateral KLMN, it's known that NM is parallel to KL because it's marked here. It's parallel. So what would you call this quadrilateral in which one pair of opposite sides is parallel? What do you call it? No, we cannot be muted like this.
Trapezium.
Trapezium, yes. So a quadrilateral in which one pair of opposite sides is parallel is called a trapezium. So KLMN is a trapezium. What is a median? What's a median in a trapezium? The line segment joining the midpoints of the which are the non-parallel sides in the trapezium? Which are the non-parallel sides?
NK and ML. ma'am.
KN.
Yeah, KNM anyways and LM or NK and ML. So NK is a line segment. Is NK a line segment?
Yes, ma'am.
So then it will have a midpoint.
Yes, ma'am.
So let this be the midpoint of NK. ML is a line segment. So then it has a midpoint. So let this be the midpoint. Now this line segment connecting the midpoints of the non-parallel sides of the trapezium. The line segment joining or connecting the midpoints of the non-parallel sides of the trapezium. The trapezium has one pair of parallel sides and one pair of non-parallel sides. So the midpoints of the non-parallel sides, line segment joining the midpoints of the non-parallel sides. That line segment is called the median of the trapezium. The line segment joining the midpoints of the non-parallel sides, midpoints of which sides? Non-parallel sides of a trapezium is called its median. So if we call this P and Q, then PQ is the median. P is the midpoint of NK. P is the midpoint of NK. Q is the midpoint of ML. P and Q are the midpoints of the non-parallel sides of the trapezium. Then the line segment joining P and Q, PQ, is the median of the trapezium. Yeah, just go through the different types of trapezium.
Once again, can you just show the previous slide?
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So we have isosceles trapezium, scalene trapezium, and a right trapezium. Please go through the definitions.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Done, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You see the properties of a trapezium? One pair of opposite sides are parallel, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The two non-parallel sides are unequal, except for isosceles trapezium. See here? Except in an isosceles trapezium, the two non-parallel sides will be unequal. Two pairs of adjacent angles add up to 180 degrees. Yeah, because we have a pair of parallel lines, right? Here, that's because two pairs of, it's given the two pairs of adjacent angles add up to 180 degrees. Two pairs. Yeah, see here, this is one pair. This pair of adjacent angles add up to 180 degrees. Because they're co-interior angles, they're supplementary. Because these two lines are parallel. Parallel lines, transversal. Co-interior angles are supplementary. Here also, co-interior angles are supplementary. Because of the presence of parallel lines. So see here, this line NM is parallel to KL, the line segments, and NK is a transversal. So this pair of adjacent angles, these are adjacent angles, they're next to one another. Adjacent angles, one pair, this pair of adjacent angles supplementary. Here also, this pair of adjacent angles supplementary because they're co-interior angles. So what is the property we were just talking about in a trapezium? How many pairs of adjacent angles are supplementary?
One pair of
Two
adjacent-
pairs of
Two
two
pairs.
pairs.
Two pairs. See the figure there. Two pairs are marked here. Two pairs. This and this, because parallel. See parallel lines, children. Parallel lines. See, children. Parallel lines. There's one transversal like this, another one like this. So here are co-interior angles. See, these are not. Now you might think why these are also then co-interior angles. These are not co-interior angles because this is not parallel. This one is not parallel to this one. And see, this is a transversal, but these two are not parallel lines. These two, this one is not parallel to this. So you cannot say that these two are co-interior angles. This line and this line, they're not parallel. This can be the transversal, but these two are not parallel. So these are not co-interior angles. These are not co-interior angles. Please. All right. So see here. Parallel line, transversal, parallel line. Co-interior angles are supplementary. Similarly, parallel line, transversal, parallel line. Co-interior angles are supplementary. So we have two pairs of adjacent angles. One pair, one more pair. We have two pairs of adjacent angles that are supplementary, that add up to 180 degrees. The diagonals intersect. Yeah, we know the diagonals intersect. This property is important. 1 mark questions. The line that joins the midpoints, the line segment. I'm sorry, it should be line segment. The line segment that joins the midpoints of the non-parallel sides is always parallel to the bases or parallel sides, which is equal to half the sum of the parallel sides. So let's take up the figure here. Sorry. So we'll say ABCD. ABCD is a trapezium. We'll say ABCD is a trapezium with AB parallel to CD. Midpoint. E is the midpoint. E is the midpoint of the non-parallel side AD. E and F are the midpoints of the non-parallel sides AD and BC respectively. So what do you call EF? What do we call EF?
Median.
Median. Which are the parallel sides of the trapezium? Which are the parallel sides of the trapezium?
AB and CD.
AB and CD. Which are the non-parallel sides of the trapezium? Which are the non-parallel sides of the trapezium? Simple questions are asked so that you remain focused in the class. Otherwise, it's not that what a dumb question this is. Why is she even asking this? It's just to have your focus in the class. Yes, which are the non-parallel sides of the trapezium?
AD and AD and
Yeah, right. AD and BC, correct. Which are the midpoint of AD? The non-parallel sides AD and BC. Which is the midpoint of AD?
E, ma'am.
E. Midpoint of BC?
F.
Name the line segment joining the, name the line segment joining the midpoints of the non-parallel sides. Name the line segment. EF. And what do we call EF? What is EF called?
Median.
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 EF is called median. EF is called the median. And what will be now, the median will always be parallel to the parallel sides. That's the, we'll be proving this. The proof we'll see later. Now remember this theoretically. This median will be parallel to the parallel sides. So that means all these three are parallel. The median will be parallel to the parallel sides. And what about the length of the median? Now supposing AB is 20 units and say this is 35 units. Then you know the length of EF will be 20 plus 35 divided by 2. 20 plus 35 divided by 2. Divided by 2. So 55 divided by 2, 27.5. The length of EF is 27.5. It will be half the lengths, half the sum of the lengths of the parallel sides. Sum of the lengths of the parallel sides. Sum, add the lengths of the parallel sides, 20 plus 35. Half of that, 20 plus 35 by 2. So the property of the median is that it will be parallel to the parallel sides. The median is parallel to the parallel sides. You should be repeating it at your end without unmuting. So EF is called the median. The median EF is parallel to AB and CD, is parallel to the parallel sides of the trapezium. And the length of EF, the length of the line segment EF or the length of the median EF is equal to AB plus CD by 2. 20 plus 35 by 2, 27.5. That is what is explained in the last point. The line segment, okay, the line segment that joins the midpoints of the non-parallel sides is always parallel to the parallel sides. The parallel sides are also called the bases. Is always parallel to the parallel sides, which is equal to, that is the length of the median is equal to half the sum of the parallel sides. The length of the median is equal to half the sum of the parallel sides. So these are the properties of a trapezium. One pair of opposite sides parallel, which is a definition. One pair of opposite sides parallel. Then the non-parallel sides are mostly unequal, except in the case of an isosceles trapezium. Non-parallel sides are unequal. If they're equal, it's an isosceles trapezium. Otherwise, it's not equal. The non-parallel sides are not equal. Two pairs of adjacent angles are supplementary. Two pairs of adjacent angles are supplementary. Diagonals intersect. They intersect, not at right angles. They don't bisect each other. Intersect, bisect is different. They just intersect, they meet. They don't bisect. They don't divide each other equally. Intersect is different from bisecting. Intersect is different from bisecting. The diagonals intersect. They don't bisect each other. They do not bisect each other. They only intersect. They meet. So see here, when we draw the NL is a diagonal. MK is a diagonal. Say they meet at O. So the diagonals NL and MK intersect at O. They don't bisect at O. Bisect means NO should be equal to OL. If NO is equal to OL, then that means bisecting. If MO is equal to MK, then we say, supposing, not in the case of a trapezium, I'm saying if NO is equal to OL, if both the diagonals are cut into two equal halves, if both the diagonals are cut into two equal halves, that is one diagonal intersects one diagonal cuts the other diagonal into two equal halves. It's then we say that the diagonals bisect each other. They cut each other equally. Okay, so here the diagonals intersect at O, not bisect at O, intersect at O. So that also we know that they intersect. And the last point we just understood about the median, it's parallel to the parallel sides, and the length of the median is equal to half the sum of the parallel sides.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now here you see a quadrilateral ABEF. Now we call this a kite. Why do we? It's a quadrilateral. It's a special quadrilateral because it has a special property. And that property is that the adjacent sides AB and AF are equal, and the other pair of adjacent sides BE and FE are equal. But no pair of opposite sides is parallel. AB is not parallel to FE. AF is not parallel to BE. That's why it's not a trapezium. It's not a trapezium. Don't assume that in a quadrilateral, one pair must be parallel always. No, no. Opposite sides need not be parallel. If one pair of opposite sides is parallel, then it's a trapezium. So this is a quadrilateral where no pair of opposite sides are parallel. But why do we call it a kite then? Why a special name? Why not just quadrilateral? Why is it given a special name kite? Because two pairs of adjacent sides are equal. AB is equal to AF, B is equal to FE. Is AB parallel to FE? No. In a kite, opposite sides are not parallel. Not even one pair of opposite sides are parallel. AB is not parallel to FE. AF is not parallel to BE. A quadrilateral in which, yeah, thank you. A quadrilateral in which two pairs of adjacent sides are equal is known as a kite. So no parallel lines here. Adjacent sides, two pairs of adjacent sides are equal. So quadrilateral ABEF is a kite in which AB is equal to AF and EB is equal to EF. No parallel lines. Two pairs of adjacent sides are equal. So it's called a kite. We've seen this as an example. We have seen all the properties of a kite in an example in the chapter congruent triangles. I don't remember the example number, but it's among the examples before the last exercise. The last exercise, not inequalities. In congruent triangles, the last exercise in congruent triangles. Before that exercise, it's one among the example problems. Points, something like points P and Q are equidistant. Points P and Q are equidistant from the ends of the line segment AB, something like that. So we have a line segment AB. I'm talking about that question. Line segment AB, points P and Q are equidistant. Are equidistant from the ends of the line segment AB. So we do the triangle, figure like this. And then for some reason we had to join this. Yeah. So there we have proved the properties of a kite without knowing it's a kite. Okay, so because we were dealing with triangles there, not quadrilaterals, so the word kite wouldn't have been used there because it's a part of the chapter triangles. Okay, so now ABEF is a kite because two pairs of adjacent sides are equal. Is that fine, children? That's all. This is the definition of a kite. So
Yes,
in a in a quadrilateral, if you find two pairs of adjacent sides equal, you can call it a kite. It is a quadrilateral, it's a kite, special name kite. See the properties of a kite?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, look at this. I hope you're able to recall this figure from that chapter which I was talking about. So now, children, let's use congruency to understand. Can we prove that this? I'm just hovering over the triangles here. Can you prove that this triangle? Can you prove that this triangle? Let me name it. 1 minute. Let me just call this A, B, C, D, and O. All right. Now, is triangle ABC congruent to ADC? ABC, ADC.
Yes, ma'am.
ABC, ADC.
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me the equalities. Yes, in triangle ABC. In triangle.
AB is equal to AD, ma'am.
Let me mention the triangles again in case you have not got it clearly. I said triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC. DC. Okay, yes, Hitesh is telling us the equalities. Tell me, Hitesh.
Ma'am, AB is equal to AD, ma'am.
Correct.
And BC is equal to DC, ma'am.
Okay, good. Given then.
And AC is equal to AC common, ma'am.
Correct. So which rule?
SSS congruency, ma'am.
SSS congruency. ABC is congruent to ADC. ABC, ADC congruent by SSS rule. So what do you have from CPCTC?
Angle ABC is equal to angle ADC, ma'am.
Yeah, so we have this angle equal to this angle, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Children see here, ABC, this triangle, ABC, this triangle is congruent to ADC. So by CPCTC, ABC, ADC. So this part of A is equal to this part of A. This angle is equal to this angle because the triangle is congruent. This angle, use the way we name the triangles ABC, ADC. So angle A is equal to angle A. That is, this angle A is equal to this angle A. That means the angle is bisected. That's why this angle is bisected. Here also, this angle is bisected because the two triangles are congruent. Angle C, this angle C is equal to this angle C in the two triangles ABC, ADC. C is equal to C. This part of angle C is equal to this part of angle C. And also we have ABC, ADC. That means this full angle. Okay. Minute. I don't know if all of us are following. Let me take up the triangle separately. Yeah, so we said this side AB is equal to AD given, BC is equal to DC given, and AC is equal to AC common side. So CPCT is this angle A is equal to this angle A. That's what angle A is bisected. Because these two portions are equal. So bisected. This part of angle C, this angle C is equal to this angle C. So angle C is bisected. Because this portion is equal to this portion. Supposing the whole thing is 100 and this is 50, this is 50. 50, 50, so it's bisected. And also this angle B is equal to this angle D. So these make the properties. How do we understand the properties? Through congruency and other, concepts likewise. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ABC. So from this we get the properties of a kite. This angle is equal to this angle is equal to this angle. That means angle A and C are bisected. And angle B and D, they are not bisected, but they are equal. So one pair of opposite angles are bisected. The other pair of opposite angles are equal. One pair of opposite angles. One pair of opposite angles are bisected. The other pair of opposite angles are equal. Are equal again by congruency. Diagonals bisect each other also we have proved. Then we proved that these two triangles are congruent. No, please recall that proof from congruent triangles. We proved that these two triangles are congruent. So this angle is equal to this angle CPCTC. But their sum is 180, so this is 90. So the diagonals are perpendicular to each other. They don't bisect, but they are perpendicular to each other. There are two different things. Diagonals. Okay, there are three things. Diagonals intersect. Diagonals intersect in all, convex quadrilaterals. Diagonals intersect. For example, okay, let me finish this. I'll tell you why I said convex. So in all convex quadrilaterals, diagonals intersect. Okay, diagonals intersecting at right angles. Here, diagonals intersect at right angles. And diagonals can also bisect each other and intersect at right angles. Diagonals can bisect each other. Diagonals can be at right angles to each other. Diagonals can bisect and be at right angles to each other. One is simply, diagonals intersecting. Diagonals intersect each other. Then diagonals can bisect each other. Diagonals can be perpendicular to each other. Diagonals can bisect one another and be perpendicular. Diagonals can bisect and as well as be perpendicular to each other. In the case of a square. Diagonals bisect and they are at right angles to each other. We'll see that. So children, don't try to memorize the properties. Simply, quickly you can run congruency in your mind and write down the properties. Don't try to memorize. Once you understand clearly, then maybe you can just, I don't believe in mugging up like that. You'll forget it, and every time before the exam you'll have to keep revising that. Understand and then read it 2-3 times. I think it will be registered. One pair of opposite angles bisected, the other pair of opposite angles equal. Diagonals are perpendicular to each other. They don't bisect each other. They are perpendicular to each other. How perpendicular to each other? Because we can prove that ABO is congruent to ADO. We proved this. In that chapter, congruent triangles, we proved this. ABO is congruent to ADO. So you'll get this angle equal to this angle. But they form a linear pair. And hence 90 degrees here. So diagonals are perpendicular to each other. And the area of the kite is formed sorry, not formed. Area of the kite is calculated using the formula half product of diagonals. Like in the case of a rhombus, half product of diagonals, half into AC into BD, half into AC into BD. See the properties. Yeah, I missed this point, that the longer diagonal, yes. When we prove that these two triangles are congruent, we also get BO is equal to DO, right? When you prove that ABO is congruent to ADO, ABO congruent to ADO, we also get this result BO is equal to DO. BO is equal to DO. So which means the longer diagonal AC bisects the smaller diagonal BD. Diagonals don't bisect one another. Diagonals don't bisect one another. The longer diagonal always, the longer diagonal will bisect the shorter diagonal. That doesn't mean that the diagonals bisect each other. The longer diagonal bisects the smaller diagonal. The longer diagonal here is AC. It bisects the smaller diagonal BD. That is, it cuts. AC cuts the smaller diagonal BD at O. Yes, please go through the properties. So two pairs of adjacent sides are equal. That's why it's a kite. Two pairs of adjacent sides are equal. That's a definition of a kite. One pair of opposite angles are equal. So angle B is equal to angle D here. The diagonals of a kite are perpendicular to each other. Yes. The longer diagonal of the kite bisects the shorter diagonal. Okay. The area of a kite is equal to half the product of the length of its diagonals. Half product of diagonals. So that's about trapezium and kite.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
All right. So parallelogram is another type of special quadrilateral. What is its definition? A quadrilateral in which both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. A quadrilateral in which both pairs of opposite sides are parallel is called a parallelogram. So in this quadrilateral PQRS, we have SR parallel to PQ, and we also have SP parallel to RQ, and hence PQRS is a parallelogram because both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel. If one pair of opposite sides is parallel, it's a trapezium. Both pairs parallel, parallelogram. This is the definition. So in a quadrilateral, if you observe, in a given quadrilateral, if you observe that both the pairs of opposite sides is parallel, both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel, then it's a parallelogram. In any given, yeah, in any given quadrilateral, if you see that, if you observe that both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel, then immediately you can call it a parallelogram. This is the definition. You don't have to, a parallelogram has so many properties. So if you're given a quadrilateral and you have to prove it's a parallelogram, you don't have to prove all the properties. You don't have to prove all the properties and then say, oh my God, finally it's a parallelogram. No, it's very simple. When both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel, you can call it a parallelogram. And now that it's called a parallelogram, it has all the properties of a parallelogram. So you can see the properties here of a parallelogram. Both pairs of opposite sides are equal. Both pairs, remember, both pairs of opposite sides are equal. Yes, both pairs of opposite sides are equal. You can see it's marked there. Both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel and equal. They are parallel and equal. Both pairs of opposite angles are equal. Yes, both the pairs of opposite angles. Angle A is equal to angle C, angle B is equal to angle D. Each pair of adjacent angles are supplementary because parallel lines, no? So co-interior angles are supplementary. Each pair of adjacent angles are supplementary. Diagonals are unequal. That's very important. In a parallelogram, diagonals are not equal. In a parallelogram, diagonals are not equal. If the diagonals are equal, then it becomes a rectangle. In a parallelogram, when the diagonals are equal, it becomes a rectangle. So in a parallelogram, diagonals are not equal. That's why it's only a parallelogram. It's not a rectangle. When in a parallelogram, you prove that, supposing in a given parallelogram, you prove that the diagonals are equal, then it's a rectangle. The slanting lines will become rect. AD and BC, no, they'll stand. They'll be vertical. ABCD will be called a rectangle. Diagonals are unequal. Diagonals do not bisect the respective corner or the vertex angles. That is, when you take the diagonal AC, it does not, the diagonal AC does not bisect angle A, does not bisect angle C. Similarly, the diagonal BD does not bisect angle B. Supposing angle B is 110 degrees. It doesn't become 55. It does not become. Only if it becomes 55, it's bisected. Now, opposite angles are equal. We learned that in a parallelogram, opposite angles are equal. So this also is 110. No, it will not be 55. It will not be. It will not be like this. Diagonal BD will not bisect angle B and angle D. It will not bisect angle B and angle D. Diagonal AC will not bisect angle A and angle C. That is what it is. Diagonals do not bisect the respective corner angles, the vertex angles. Vertex meaning vertices, no? A, B, C, D. There are 4 vertices here, A, B, C, and D. So diagonals, they don't bisect their respective corner or vertex angles. Diagonals bisect each other. They bisect one another. The line segments. AC is a diagonal, BD is a diagonal. One diagonal cuts the other diagonal equally. So if you take the diagonal AC, if you take the diagonal AC, it cuts BD at O equally. It bisects BD at O. And if you take the diagonal BD, it bisects the diagonal AC at O. Look at the diagonal AC. It cuts the other diagonal BD. It bisects the other diagonal BD at O. Similarly, BD bisects AC at O. That's what is, diagonals bisect each other. They cut each other equally. Here at O. So both pairs of opposite sides are parallel and equal. Are parallel. When you prove that both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel, that means it's a parallelogram. You don't have to prove all these other properties. You don't have to prove all these properties. Simply when both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel, it is a parallelogram. Now, what are the other features of a parallelogram? Both pairs of opposite angles are, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel and equal. Opposite angles are equal. Because of the presence of parallel lines, you should understand that adjacent angles are supplementary. Co-interior angles are supplementary. So that's what is adjacent angles are supplementary. Class, use the emoji. Raise your hand. Shivani, are you there? Why the delay, Shivani?
Yes, ma'am.
Pranav, Rajan, and Tarun, Ishwaran. Pranav, are you there?
Ma'am.
Yeah. No. You did not use the raise hand emoji.
Ma'am.
Yes, Pranav. No, are you there? Okay. Delay in using the raise hand option. All right. So diagonals, I was telling you that diagonals are unequal. Diagonals do not bisect the respective corner or vertex angles, but the diagonals bisect each other. Please see the properties again. Read it slowly. You should not be in a hurry to read about parallel equal. Nothing will go into your head. Take time to pronounce each and every word in the sentence. So don't go like both pairs of. So when you read, you should understand what you're reading. That's what it is. What your mouth says must be understood by your mind. Both pairs of opposite sides are parallel and equal. So take a second to understand what you read. Next, both pairs of opposite angles are equal. So like that, go on, read the properties.
Yes.
All right. Okay, now it's time for some questions. Vasudevan. Vasudevan. Please text me, Vasudevan. Why are you not able to unmute and acknowledge? Are you there? Yes, you're there. Please text me right away. Why are you not able to acknowledge? Pranav, Rajan, what is the measure of angle C? What is the measure of angle C? Pranav, Rajan. Shivani, what's the measure of angle C?
I'm 75 degrees.
Why?
Because opposite sides are equal.
Opposite sides are equal?
No, ma'am, pairs of opposite. Yes, ma'am.
Sides, huh? Opposite sides.
Opposite angles, ma'am. Angles, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am, angles.
Yeah. Should be careful in using that. Because opposite angles are equal. So 75, 75. Shivani, what's the measure of this angle? D. What's the measure of angle D? What is the measure of angle D? Nikita, are you there? Nikita? What is the measure of angle D? Still celebrating Diwali, huh?
Ma'am, can I?
Yeah, Kanishka.
105, ma'am.
Why? Use the property given here and tell me why is it 105?
Ma'am, because each pair of adjacent angles are supplementary, ma'am.
Yeah, parallel line, transversal, parallel line. This is 75. So this will be 105 because co-interior angles are supplementary. Parallel line, transversal, parallel line. Opposite sides are parallel. We know in a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel. So this angle and this angle, they are co-interior angles. These two angles form a pair of co-interior angles and they are supplementary. So if this is 75 degrees, if this is 75, this one will be 180 minus 75, 105 degrees. Got it, all of you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, now Shivani, tell me the measure of angle B. What is the measure of angle B?
105, ma'am.
Reason?
Ma'am, because each pairs of adjacent angles are supplementary, no, ma'am. So 105 and 75 are supplementary.
Very good. Okay. Now, one other property now. What is the other property you can use now? Having found D.
Ma'am, can't understand.
No, state some other property by which you can say that B is 105 degrees. You're right. Your answer is right. B is equal to 105 degrees. You're right.
Ma'am, can I?
Yes, Kanishka.
Ma'am, adjacent angles are supplementary.
That's what she said. Adjacent angles are supplementary. What's the other reason here?
Opposite
Ma'am, can
angles
I?
are equal.
Yeah, opposite angles are equal because we found D, right? D is 105. In a parallelogram, we know that opposite angles are equal. So if D is 105, B is also 105.
Yes, ma'am.
In a parallelogram, opposite angles are equal. So D is 105 degrees, B is 105. We can use this property to find angle B, or we can say that adjacent angles are supplementary. So this 75 plus angle B is 180. So angle B is equal to 105 degrees. Or you can also use angle B, A plus angle B is equal to 180. See, in a parallelogram, angle A plus angle B is 180. Angle B plus angle C is 180. Angle C plus angle D is 180. Angle D plus angle A is 180. We have 4 pairs of adjacent angles that are supplementary. So this is about angles. Now tell me if AO is 12 centimeters, what is the length of AC?
24
24.
centimeters.
24, ma'am.
How? What is OC? How much is OC?
24.
Ma'am, same 12. Ma'am.
12, ma'am.
Why?
12.
Because O is the
Diagonal bisect each other.
yeah,
Mid-
correct.
Midpoint.
Midpoint of
Midpoint of AC.
Midpoint.
Because O is the midpoint of AC. So if AO is 12, OC is also 12. So the length of the diagonal AC is equal to 24 units. Then what is the length of the diagonal BD? Yeah, BD is equal to BD is equal to
Same 24.
24. Who's that? How much is BD?
24.
What's the reason? Who's that? Kanishka, is it?
No, ma'am, Shivani.
No, ma'am, I didn't, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, Shivani. What's the reason, Shivani? The properties are alongside. You can see and tell me the property you used to find the length of BD. What is the property you read about the diagonals? Are the diagonals equal or unequal?
Unequal, ma'am.
Unequal. So if AC is 24, can BD be 24?
No, ma'am.
No. So the best answer is what? If I ask you the question, what is the length of BD? What is the best answer you can give?
Ma'am.
BD is not equal to 24.
Oh, very good. Yeah, BD is not equal to 24. You can't say. We can't say. BD is equal to, can't say. Or you can say BD is not equal to 24. BD cannot be 24 because AC is 24. Diagonals are not equal. So BD is not 24. Okay.
Okay.
Now, just say if this is true or false. Now, if this is tell me if this is true about a quadrilateral. Oh, sorry, parallelogram. This whole angle is 120, children. This whole angle is 120. Opposite angles are equal. Is this a parallelogram? Is ABCD a parallelogram?
No,
No,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, answer first. Who said yes? Please answer, you're right. Who said yes? Please come up with your justification. Okay, why no? Now, who said yes? I want to know who said yes.
Ma'am, I didn't say yes, but I understood why it is yes, ma'am.
Ah, okay. Tell me, Hitesh. Good.
Ma'am,
Why is it?
when we add 60 plus 60 is 120, ma'am. In an parallelogram, opposite angles are equal, so 120 and 120 are equal, so angle A, it is a parallelogram, ma'am.
Okay. Opposite angle, but only one pair of opposite angles are marked, right? So you cannot assume that the other pair is equal. No, we're just trying to understand the properties. We're not going to take it very seriously because we'll not dig from different angles. I'm saying just to help you understand the property. Did we learn that the diagonal does not bisect the corner angles? Diagonal BD does not bisect angle B, does not bisect angle D, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But here it
Yes,
looks
ma'am.
BD bisects angle B, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I'm saying this is not true in the case if it is a parallelogram. That is why I marked 60-60 to deceive you. Opposite angles are equal, but it cannot be 60-60. It can be 70-50. The opposite now angle B will be 120, but it should not be 60-60 because the diagonal BD does not bisect angle B or D. No, I should not be confusing anybody here. If you have not understood, please ask me now. I'm saying you're right. Saying opposite angles are equal. Yeah, correct. But it should not be 60-60. That means BD is bisecting angle B, which is not true in the case of a parallelogram. If this is 120, this can be like 80, 40, 120. This is fine, but not 60, 60. Agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, yeah. So that's what it is. Diagonals do not bisect the corner angles. Diagonals bisect each other. So what is the definition of a parallelogram?
A quadrilateral in which both pairs of opposite sides are parallel.
Is a parallelogram. Correct. Is that Pratiksha?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Very good. A quadrilateral in which both pairs of opposite sides are parallel is called a parallelogram. This is the definition. Once you prove that, once you know that the quadrilateral is a parallelogram, all these properties hold good. Rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram. See, if you have to call a quadrilateral a rhombus, it should first be a parallelogram. It's like a gateway. You must first be a parallelogram, then only you can be a rhombus. If you're not a parallelogram, then you cannot be a rhombus. If you have to call something a cat, it should first be an animal. If you have to call something a cat, it has to be an animal. So a parallelogram having all sides equal is called a rhombus. So it's not a quadrilateral here, a parallelogram. If something is a rhombus, then that is a parallelogram. If you call a figure a rhombus, that means it is a parallelogram. It has all the properties of a parallelogram and one special property it has. That is why it is not just called a parallelogram, it's called a rhombus. And what is that special property it has other than being a parallelogram? All the sides are equal. Not only opposite sides are equal. In a parallelogram, only opposite sides are equal. But here, you find that there is a quadrilateral, which is a parallelogram. But you see that not only opposite sides are equal, all the sides are equal. So you call it a rhombus. If a quadrilateral has all the features of a parallelogram and this extra thing that all sides are equal, not only opposite sides, all sides are equal, then that parallelogram is called a rhombus. So if you have to prove that a quadrilateral is a rhombus, if you have to prove that a quadrilateral is a rhombus, you must first prove it's a parallelogram. You must first prove it's a parallelogram. So some details are given to you. They'll say prove that quadrilateral ABCD is a rhombus. Some details given. Prove that quadrilateral ABCD is a rhombus. So you must first prove that the quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. Once you prove it's a parallelogram, how will you prove it's a parallelogram? You should prove that both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So it's a parallelogram. In the parallelogram, when you prove that all the sides are equal, in the parallelogram, when you prove that all sides are equal, in the parallelogram, when you prove that all the sides are equal, it's a rhombus. So in the quadrilateral DEFG, opposite sides are parallel and equal. So it's called a rhombus. In the quadrilateral DEFG, opposite sides are equal. Sorry, all the sides are equal. And it's a parallelogram. A parallelogram in which all sides are equal is called a rhombus. See, so far we were saying a quadrilateral, children. See, what's a parallelogram? A quadrilateral in which both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So far we've been saying a quadrilateral in which. Now for a rhombus, a parallelogram in which all sides are equal is a rhombus. So if you have to prove that a quadrilateral is a rhombus, you must first prove it's a parallelogram. And in the parallelogram, you must prove that all the sides are equal. So it is a rhombus.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. See the properties of a rhombus. So in a rhombus, all sides are equal. Both pairs of opposite angles are equal. Like in a parallelogram, it's a parallelogram, no? So it will have the properties of a parallelogram and some extra properties. So both pairs of opposite angles are equal. So you know, you will say that I know because it's a parallelogram. So both pairs of opposite angles are equal. Each pair of adjacent angles are supplementary. That also we know. Diagonals are unequal. So here also diagonals are unequal. Diagonals are not equal. In a parallelogram and rhombus, we have only 4. That is apart from trapezium and kite. Am I audible, children?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Apart from trapezium and kite, we have these 4 quadrilaterals. Parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, square. That's all. Parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, square. Rectangle, square we've been seeing since 2nd or 3rd standard. Or I don't know, even LKG. Rectangle and square. So square, oh sorry. Rectangle, square, rhombus, parallelogram. Leave trapezium and kite. Leave that. Leave that meaning that's not under our discussion now. So just keep that aside. Trapezium and kite. Square, rectangle, you know already. So now we are talking about rhombus and parallelogram. Rhombus and parallelogram. In a rhombus, all sides are equal. In a parallelogram, you know, only opposite sides are equal. So in a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal, but in a rhombus, all sides are equal. All the other properties are here. Both pairs of opposite angles are equal. We know because it's a parallelogram. Then each pair of adjacent angles are supplementary. Okay, diagonals are unequal. So here also diagonals are unequal. In a parallelogram also diagonals are unequal. In a rhombus also diagonals are unequal. In a rhombus, when the diagonals are equal, it becomes a square. In a rhombus, because how is it easy to remember? Because in a parallelogram, only opposite sides are equal. So it can only become a rectangle. In a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal. So it can become a rectangle. Because in a rectangle also opposite sides are equal. So a parallelogram becomes a rectangle when diagonals are equal. In a parallelogram, diagonals are unequal. In a parallelogram, diagonals are unequal. If you prove that the diagonals are equal, then the parallelogram is a rectangle. Rectangle because in a parallelogram, opposite sides, you can remember like that. In a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal. Rectangle also opposite sides are equal. Similarly, in a rhombus, diagonals are unequal. They are not equal. If in a rhombus you prove that diagonals are equal, it is a rhombus. But furthermore, you can call it a square. Further, you can give a special name, square. Why? How does this rhombus become a square? Because in a rhombus, already all sides are equal. Yeah, already all sides are equal. Like in a square, all sides are equal. Now, in a rhombus, where the diagonals are unequal, supposing in that particular rhombus, you prove that the diagonals are equal. Then it's not that it was wrong that we called it a rhombus. No, it is a rhombus only. Further, you can call it, it's a more special name, it's a square. That rhombus is a square. Not that you were incorrect in calling it a rhombus. You can call a square a rhombus, but you cannot call a rhombus a square. Like you can say a cat is an animal, but every animal is not a cat. Cat is an animal. Lion is an animal. Animal you can use, but you cannot say cat for every animal. So like that, if it's a square, by mistake you said it's a rhombus. It's a rhombus, no problem, no mistake. It's a square, but say you called it a rhombus. It's a rhombus only. Every square is a rhombus, but every rhombus need not be a square. Because in a rhombus, you know, diagonals are unequal. Only when they become equal, it becomes a square. All, if you're getting, if few doubts are cropping up in your mind, don't worry. We have so many proofs to understand from the exercise. And you know, you will see all that. Whatever you just learn as a property now will be proved in the exercise. So I don't think you should have any doubts later. Okay, so in a rhombus, when the diagonals are equal, it's called a square. It's called a square. Now, what I immediately feel some of you might get in your mind is, if in a rhombus the diagonals are, now we said every square is a rhombus, right? So you might wonder, how can you call every square a rhombus? In a square, diagonals are equal, but actually in a rhombus, diagonals must be unequal. The thing is, to call it a rhombus, you should just go by the definition. What is a rhombus? In a parallelogram, if all sides are equal, it's a rhombus. In a parallelogram, when all sides are equal, it's a rhombus. Is a square a parallelogram? Yes. All sides equal? Yes. It's a rhombus. A square is a special rhombus where diagonals are equal. If it's just a rhombus, diagonals are unequal. If it's a rhombus, diagonals are unequal. A square is a further special rhombus where diagonals are equal. Okay, you understand, I know, but you will be able to remember all this once we prove in the prove these results in the exercise. All right. Yeah, that's about a rhombus. So the definition of a rhombus is a parallelogram in which all sides are equal. A parallelogram in which all sides are equal is a rhombus. That's all. Rectangle. A rectangle is a parallelogram in which one angle is a right angle. A rectangle is a parallelogram in which one angle is a right angle. It's very simple. Now you have a parallelogram. And in the parallelogram, you prove that one angle is 90 degrees. That means that parallelogram is a rectangle. So what is it? In a parallelogram, when all sides are equal, it's a rhombus. In a parallelogram, when one angle is 90 degrees, it's a rectangle. In a parallelogram, when all the sides are equal, it's a rhombus. In a parallelogram, when one angle is 90 degrees, it's a rectangle. So to prove that a quadrilateral is a rectangle, simple, you just have to prove it's a parallelogram. And in the parallelogram, if one angle is 90 degrees, it's a rectangle.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So both pairs of opposite sides equal, diagonals are equal here. Diagonals bisect each other, but not at right angles. Diagonals, they bisect each other, but not at right angles. and diagonals do not bisect the respective corner angles. Did we see the properties of a rhombus? Yeah. I hope you noticed that the diagonals bisect the respective corner angles. Rectangle, that is where opposite sides are equal. You can remember like that. When opposite sides are equal, the diagonals don't bisect the corner angles. Like in a parallelogram and in a rectangle, the only opposite sides are equal. Only opposite sides are equal. So in these two figures, the diagonals, they don't bisect the corner angles. But in a rhombus and in a square, all sides are equal. So the diagonals will bisect the corner angles. Now we saw a parallelogram in which all sides are equal is a rhombus. A parallelogram in which one angle is 90 degrees is a rectangle. Both put together is a square. Supposing you find a parallelogram in which all sides are equal and one angle is a right angle, then it's called a square. Both put together. In a parallelogram, if only all sides are equal, the key words are these two, that's all. All sides equal, 90 degrees. These are the keywords. Sorry. If in a parallelogram, all sides are equal, all the sides are equal, it's called a rhombus. If in a parallelogram, one angle is a right angle. In a parallelogram, if one angle is a right angle, then it's a rectangle. If in a parallelogram, all sides are equal and one angle is a right angle, then it's called a square. All this is happening in a parallelogram. In a parallelogram, if all sides are equal, it's a rhombus. In a parallelogram, if one angle is a right angle, is 90 degrees, it's a rectangle. The parallelogram, the parallelogram is a rectangle. That's the definition of a rhombus and a rectangle. When you're asked to define a rhombus, you must say a parallelogram in which all sides are equal is a rhombus. A parallelogram in which one angle is a right angle is a rectangle. A parallelogram in which all sides are equal and one angle is a right angle. All sides are equal and one angle is a right angle is a square.
Yes, nice.
Yeah. These are the properties of a square. All sides are equal, diagonals are equal. When diagonals are equal in the case of a rectangle and a square. Diagonals are equal, diagonals bisect each other at right angles. Diagonals bisect the respective corner or the vertex angles. I hope we have taken a screenshot of all the slides we used in today's class. All of you. Like this, we should be in a physical session, not in an online session. Okay, so we have misunderstood. the discipline to be followed in an online session and offline session. So you are behaving, yeah, all of us are like you're expected to, this caliber of discipline is expected in an offline session. In an online session, you're expected to be naughty. You're given the freedom to be naughty, talkative.
Yes, ma'am. Can you show us the rectangle properties? Ma'am?
Yeah. Yes, somebody wants to ask something.
The definition too.
Oh, definition, yeah. Okay, now if you feel a parallelogram, one of whose angles is 90 degrees is a rectangle. It's sufficient if you, that's a definition. We know that in a rectangle, every angle is a right angle. In a rectangle, every angle is a right angle. But you don't have to prove. You don't have to prove that every angle is a right angle. If you prove that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram and in the parallelogram, one angle is 90 degrees, that is sufficient to show that it's a rectangle. In a parallelogram, if we have a quadrilateral and we prove that the quadrilateral is a parallelogram first, after proving it's a parallelogram, we prove that one of the angles is 90 degrees. Then it's a rectangle. Now, when it's a rectangle, all the angles will be 90. But to prove it is sufficient if you show that one angle is 90 degrees. All right, children. So that's it for today's session. Thank you so much. You may leave the call.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, children.